Good morning, everyone. May everyone please proceed to your seats so that we can begin with today's event. Thank you. Good morning. May everyone please proceed to your seats so that we can begin. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning and a warm welcome to the Muscat Stock Exchange Investor Roadshow. This Investor Roadshow is the second edition of the biggest event of Oman's newly rebranded stock exchange. We're all gathered here in the hopes to attract global investment towards the companies that are listed at the Muscat Stock Exchange and to inform various fund managers about the latest developments and growth prospects in the local Omani market. Oman, the Sultanate of Oman's unique geographical location, its stable economy, and its robust infrastructure makes it an ideal location for investment. The government also encourages and supports foreign investment, which is evident by the fact that they've introduced several new measures to stimulate the Omani business environment. On the 11th of January 2023, Oman's accession day, which is the occasion of the day that Sultan Haytham bin Tariq took the reins of power in the country, His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq issued royal decision to withhold taxes on dividends and on interest in order to facilitate foreign direct investment. This puts into perspective how high foreign direct investment is on His Majesty's priority list. It was an important decision that was made on an important day. I'd like to briefly introduce myself. My name is Hawra Al-Balushi, and I'm delighted to be emceeing this event today. Professionally, I'm a full-time radio and TV presenter, and although presenting is my passion, I may have mentioned this before, but what goes on in the stock market is my passion as well. I have the academic background for it, a bachelor's degree in economics and business economics from Maastricht University in the Netherlands. So I'm truly honored to be a part of what may be helpful in facilitating and aiding further foreign direct investment in Oman and what gathers both my interests today. Although it is evident for us as to why we've selected Riyadh as a location for our first international investor roadshow, for some of you that may still remain uncertain, let me begin by saying that Riyadh is the heart of Saudi Arabia, a country that has a significantly competitive economy. And Riyadh is also the first and currently the only digital capital in the Arab region that connects the capital to the rest of the nation, to the other neighbors around it, and to other countries globally. And so it is a powerful business hub. But without any further ado, let us begin by hearing from Mr. Haytham bin Salim Al-Salimi, CEO of Muscat Stock Exchange, who will welcome you to the Investor Roadshow. Let's give him a warm welcome to the stage.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I wrote a speech, but I think I won't read it. And it's just a great honor to be here in Riyadh. I can say it's a city of wonders and city of achievements. And we learned a lot from Riyadh. My guest here, my friend Abu Sulaiman, Mohammed Al-Ramih, the CEO of Tadawul. Thank you for being with us. We are here today to show you opportunities. Muscat Stock Exchange, the exchange of opportunities. We have a lot of plans, a lot of achievements to be done, and we believe with you, our partners, we can achieve a lot. We came all the way from Oman to Riyadh to show you or to create connections with other markets, connections with other exchanges that links capital markets together all in Oman, all within one network. Potentials that were proven by other exchanges, especially when we heard the upgrade of markets. What we are doing in Oman is aiming toward upgrading the market to emerging market. Such potential, such journey will create a lot of opportunities for you. And we welcome you to join these opportunities. We have seen a track record in GCC where markets upgraded, pre-upgradation or post-upgrade. Almost double, of the trading volumes, almost 40% increase in indices and prices. And what we do in Oman now is joining that record and creating a market with full potentials to upgrade the prices and create a reflection on the true value of our companies. Ladies and gentlemen, I will leave the stage for my guests. There will be a lot of information to be delivered to you about what Oman can offer you in terms of investments, whether directly or indirectly, and joining a potential of companies that already listed, giving a very high dividend yield, or companies to be listed in Oman. So we are here, Muscat Stock Exchange, with our regulator, Capital Market Authority, our main stakeholders, Oman Investment Authority, and the Istidama program that comes from Oman Vision 2040, our brokers and intermediaries, and the most important, we have our listed companies and potentially to be listed companies with us. So I welcome you all to this event. This is one of the events that we are doing to show the value of Oman and the value of our stock exchange. Thank you very much, and I really hope that it will be a fruitful day, and we are here to serve you and answer all your questions, whether me or my market players. We'll be all around you to provide you all the information necessary to know about our market. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that welcome, Mr. Haytham Al-Salmi. We're all pleased to be here as well. Our first speaker today is Mahmoud Abdullah Al-Awaini, who is a senior executive with 20 years experience in finance and investment, as well as in business development and forming corporate strategies for large and complex organizations. He is currently leading the National Program for Fiscal Sustainability and Financial Sector, Istidama, which has been launched by the Ministry of Finance upon the directive of His Majesty, the Sultan of Oman, for the duration of 3 years, effective from the 1st of January 2023. The aim of this program is to support the economic and investment growth to enable Oman Vision 2040. He is an MBA holder, and he completed his bachelor's degree in finance in 2003 from Sultan Qaboos University. Let's give him a warm welcome to Mr. Mahmoud Al-Awaini, who will be speaking about the journey towards inclusive, diverse, and sustainable economy. Please join us on stage.
Assalamu alaikum jami'an, and morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be part of this journey that MSX started, and we are all proud of, honestly. I'm also glad that I'm the first speaker because I will take my time, despite all time conscious approach there. In Oman, we have very ambitious vision, and we always would love to start with what it directs us to. I think we have very clear KPIs to be achieved by 2040. These KPIs are not for display. It's a hard journey to be achieved, and very clear mandate have been given to most stakeholders, either governmental or private sector players. And it cannot be as well achieved unless all stakeholders are within that vision. So we have very clear direction to go and engage individuals, private sector, in addition to governments and other stakeholders. And in the priorities of the vision itself, there's a big focus on investments and social protection aspects in addition to diversifying economy. So you'll find a number of programs as well, serving the same objectives but trying to complement each other, integrating efforts which is happening from most of the entities, organizations, and individuals. And we have seen really great initiatives coming out from the private sector as well, in addition to the government entities, talking about what we can do to improve, what we can do to achieve what we have in terms of ambitious targets that the vision is bringing up. Overall, there are now very clear direction that the government is leading and trying to engage the private sector with. So one of them started 3-4 years ago, which was stabilizing, I would call it stabilizing the physical position for the government. And probably we have seen great improvements over years. Maybe the final indication was the growth or upgrade in the credit rating. And that's essential to make sure that our investment platforms and environment is stable, that can attract investors. In addition, we have a very clear direction now through the vision and different entities to attract FDI. And that's one of our key objectives that we need to work hard to make it happen in the coming few years. In addition, we are, as all other GCC countries probably, we are mainly depending on oil and gas on our revenue, so we are trying as well to diversify to new sector, which I will talk about later on. In addition, we focus highly on building capabilities, and we think our key of success in Oman is to get talented people leading certain initiatives and certain sectors to growth until we reach to the level that we expect. So human capabilities and competencies is an essence of everything you will find in the vision and in the direction even from His Majesty. We always say we need to provide as well a very, very high standards of customer service to attract FDIs and others, either investments or even markets. And that can be as well achieved through fintech. We can see a lot of opportunities. And there's, again, a very clear direction that we need to upgrade our technologies basis. Multiple financing options as well is important because we have different players in the market, big and small, and we need to diversify, making the right products assigned to the right size of businesses. So overall, Oman in general, I think all speak about its location, probably stability, all of that is known. But what can I say as well? I think we are in a reforming journey, and that's a journey will create certainly a lot of opportunities. There are as well understanding of where are key challenges that we are facing now. We are evaluating that, continuing to evaluate. We are hearing the feedback from all key stakeholders, private or governmental, and we are building solutions based on these feedback. So there's an evolving, I would say, journey to upgrade our economy in addition to the resources, location, stability that we have in Oman. And probably one of the key elements now is the energy sector, and I can say Oman is classified one of the top 5 destinations for renewables and hydrogen production countries. All of that lead to already certain kind of results. So we are not talking about theories here. We are talking about numbers. And there are certain targets that we need to achieve from now until 2025. A lot of diverse sector. I'm not mentioning the hydrogen projects in that figures. The energy is other energy projects. So we are aiming to achieve projects in tourism, manufacturing, food security, logistics, mining, and others. That equal to around 13 or 14 billion Omani riyal. Almost 8 out of that, as of today, have been agreed with the investors. Some of the projects are sanctioned, some of them led by Oman Investment Authority, and some of them have been assigned to private sector to be led. So we are talking about very clear upgrade, which we have seen the results out of it as of today. Because all of that, to catch all that opportunities, His Majesty directed to establish a national program. It's a continuity, but with a new theme as well, continuity for stabilizing the government position as a stable economy and financial position. So we are continuing on the upgrade. of the credit rating, but also in initiating the financial sector developments, which we think is a very, very important enabler for us to serve the key objectives that the vision come up. So the program is starting 1st of January 2023. We are in the evaluation stage of the position, the as-is analysis, and it will continue until 2025, where we need to achieve all our objectives. So very challenging journey, as I said. Overall, as I said, I think the main key objectives for the program is first to continue the success we did over the last 3 years in terms of stabilizing the government position, the physical position, but also adding one very important element to the equation, which is private sector to serve the Oman Vision 2040 objectives. So we are enabling private sector to do that role. In addition to finding the solution, which is a deep challenge we discover from the feedback we got from investors, improving the competitiveness of the financial sector itself, the level of services they are offering, as well as having the right financing options and products that's matching the needs and requirements of the needers or the investors coming to establish these projects. So we have two key streams. One I will not talk a lot about, but it's continuity of what we already started, like the mergers of the pension funds, the social stability rules, physical rules overall, macro-physical rules, and others. The main focus now, which is the new stream, is upgrading the financial market overall, upgrading the banks, the level of service they are offering, as well as the capital market. And we have very clear indication how we can reach to that balance. And we can really say there are massive opportunities coming in the capital market stage that could be taken off. We did not forget the fintech technology, which we believe as well we can position ourselves very well at this stage. If we started now in the right way, we'll position really ourselves with the hard competition within the region itself in the fintech space. There are certain initiatives that we'll lead to as well, or we'll try to encourage to achieve. One is reviewing regulations and rules controlling currently the financial market overall, including banking, of course, and we'll try to really upgrade these to serve the key objectives. From the other end, we are focusing on human capabilities because we think to sustain the results of this program, we need to have a very talented human capability that continue the trend overall. And we are also pushing to improve the awareness of the society, the investors, so they can play an important role to play with that overall vision. When we established the program, we asked for very clear enablers. And we said this is a hard journey. It's not easy to be achieved. So we need certain enablers either from the government or from private sector. So one of them was a fast and quick decision making. And we have now a very senior steering committee supporting the program, which report directly to His Majesty, and that shows how serious is the matter have been taken. As well, we have a certain talent requirements, so we are getting very good support from a number of entities. We are engaging as well the private sector into the theme, so it's not a government program that's trying to fix something. It's a real collaboration between different parties to achieve very, very important objective that will serve the whole sector overall. So as a result, we have number of stakeholders. We have Minister of Finance as the chairman for this program. We have Oman Investment Authority represented, Central Bank of Oman and Capital Market Authority and Oman Vision. Of course, all players under the market under the capital market and Central Bank of Oman are represented in our program. They own initiatives. We support them to achieve their initiatives, including MS6 and others. We are pushing to have a wider range of investment banks options available. So this is one of our direction, and we are looking to study that. Banks and insurance and crowd funds, even small SMEs and others are represented in this program by one way or another. So most of the initiatives will be within these sectors overall. What should we expect after the program? As I said, I think mainly priorities of Oman Vision 2040 was very clear. We need to build an enabled private sector that can contribute to the success of the economy, to the success of the country overall. We need, as a result, a real competitive environment in the capital market and banks as well. We expect that we create a lot of opportunities for SMEs. And when we say SMEs, we mean the right SMEs. So we need to have that atmosphere or environments supporting these SMEs that can add value to the economy overall. As well, we are working hardly to have different options of financing. And currently, honestly speaking, we have seen the majority of financing coming from banks, which not always satisfy the requirements of the takers or the investors, because some investments are high-risk taking investments and need other options. So we are working hardly to diversify that. And last but not least, we are looking at this sector as an area of big opportunities, especially in the fintech. So we think we'll be a high-tech, we will build a high-tech sector over years, and we are setting the plan overall for that. Thank you very much. I know I take probably a little bit more of the time I'm allowed to, but still okay. And probably we are happy and ready to participate of that opportunity session, I would call, organized by MS6. And we are available as well for any discussion or side talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud Al-Awaini, for your insightful words. I'm very delighted to introduce our next speaker, since she's the only lady here speaking today. Ms. Threya Al-Balushi, and she is the manager at the Economic Diversification Investment Department of OIA. So she's the manager at this department and is mandated to manage and develop the local assets of Oman Investment Authority while ensuring alignment of their strategies with the country's diversification objectives and target. She occupies several board committee memberships in Oman and abroad, and in various sectors such as banking, investment corporations, and development companies. She also holds a master's degree in business and management from University of Strathclyde in the UK. Let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Threya, who will be speaking on OIA's divestment plan.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's a good introduction that I will be the only lady speaking here today, so hopefully that will be mesmerizing, inshallah. Before starting, I would like to thank Mahmoud for his presentation. For a moment, I thought Mahmoud has actually hijacked my presentation. We were speaking the same language, and when I say the same language, it's not English, what I'm meaning we're speaking the language of Vision 2040. For a second and for a moment there, I thought, why should I come up? I'm repeating what Mahmoud's saying. So this is evident of how collaborative and synergetic the efforts are today on where we're heading. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to present to you Oman Investment Authority's divestment plan. Brief, very high-level highlights on OIA's plan. And I'll start by giving a introduction about Oman Investment Authority for those who do not know what is Oman Investment Authority. So Oman Investment Authority is the sovereign wealth fund of Oman. It was established back in June 2020 by merging all of State General Reserve Fund, Oman Investment Fund, as well as some of the governmental assets under one umbrella, which is the Oman Investment Authority. And my presentation went. for a second. The presentation? Okay, that's exciting. Yeah, بورصة مسقط. Okay. So talking about our mandate as Oman Investment Authority, we operate like a typical sovereign wealth fund. We are obligated to manage, develop, and invest funds to maximize the returns, as well as achieve growth for future generations and contribute towards supporting the state budget whenever that is required. This is a typical mandate for any sovereign wealth fund around the world. Now, given the inclusion of the local assets under this umbrella, we have been mandated also to enhance the national investment environment by attracting FDIs, so we support in that along with other players, as well as to contribute to the implementation of different programs, one of which Mahmoud was talking about. This map shows you our geographical distribution for OIA's investment. We are distributing around more than 40 countries around the globe. That is either directly through private equity, real estates, or indirectly through funds or public markets as well. Now, how do we manage our assets in OIA? We manage it through two funds, two distinctive funds, each of which has its own mandate and it's ring-fenced. So one fund is the National Development Fund. It has all the national assets under this fund, and it's mandated to contribute towards the economic diversification and growth, as well as support the state budget whenever that is required. We have more than 160 assets investments under this fund. The next fund is the Futures Generations Fund, and that consists of the legacy assets we have from SGRF, our international basket. And as I mentioned, it has different asset classes. So it has the private equity, it has the funds, it has the direct and indirect investments in public markets and private markets. Our local portfolio has presence in most of the sectors in the Omani economy. Today, our local portfolio accounts of around close to 30% of the GDP. As you can see evidently here, we have assets in the energy sector, ICT, tourism, industry, food and fisheries, services, mining, aviation, logistics, and much more, you name it. So after inheriting this mixed basket of portfolios under OIA, we had to work on a framework to manage those assets. So we introduced a program to set a framework of governance strategies for those companies. So one of the policies and guidelines that we worked on for our companies was the divestment policy, the introduction of a divestment policy for our local assets. So we established the divestment policy, and we targeted to enable the private sector, increase their presence and their role in the economy, as well as reinvest the proceeds to achieve economic diversification, same language as Mahmoud was speaking about. As well, one of our targets is to expand MSX and the capital market in Oman. During 2022, we worked on several assets for the divestment, out of which I assume you heard about the first reef investment that was listed in MSX last year. And we exited one of the logistical assets under Asiad Group, as well as a couple of assets are in the advanced stage of divesting. Two in the energy sectors are divesting through IPO. I assume you heard about Abraj. It's going to be listed very soon, inshallah. And then we'll have another asset coming down the line. We also have assets in the logistic and tourism sector that are in advanced stages of exiting. We worked with our local underlying companies to come up with a 5-year exit plans for them. As of today, those plans are, we have more than 20 assets to be divested from today until 2026, generating not less than 2 billion Omani riyals in diverse sector, as you may see. The majority comes from the energy sector, yes, because it's the most mature sector we have, and other sectors also are working and, inshallah, implementing their divestment plans. This plan is regularly looked upon and updated to include and capture any changes in the market and the economy. That was my presentation for today. I hope it was informative and clear for all of you. I would like to thank you all for attending, and most importantly, I would like to thank your demonstration of faith in MSX, OIA, and all the speakers today to be your partners in potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your words, Ms. Thuraya. I've always known that OIA was a big agency, but to know that 30% of Oman's GDP is accounted for by OIA's investment really puts it into perspective. For our future speakers, I've been notified to let you know that there's a timer here at the front to help you manage your time if you're going to be speaking today. And our next speaker today is Mr. Kemal Rizadi Arbi, who has about 30 years global experience in the commercial and financial industry, both government and private sector, including investment banking, corporate finance, Islamic finance, fintech, and as a regulator and developer of capital markets, including Islamic capital markets in the Middle East and Asian region. He is currently driving development efforts to enhance the capital market in Oman as an advisor at the Capital Market Authority of the Sultanate of Oman. Please let's give him a warm welcome so that he can speak to us today about capital markets in Oman.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and very good morning to everyone. It's always good to be in Riyadh. Actually, it's my first time, but you can always see the vibrancy, and the growth which is actually happening in Riyadh, and hopefully we can bring the same vibrancy to Oman also. My name is Kamal. I'm with the Capital Market Authority. Now, quick introduction. The CME in Oman regulates both the capital market and also the insurance sector. So we do have a slightly wider scope as compared to the CME here in Saudi. But for today, I would actually be focusing more on the capital market sector. And we actually have a lot of, we're wearing a lot of hats here at the CME. Because our mandate here is not only to regulate, but it's also to develop the capital market and insurance sector, and also to promote both sectors here in Oman. We were asked to actually speak on the capital market, and I will be talking more on the capital market sector here in the Sultanate of Oman. Sorry, if I press this? The green. Oh, okay, all right. Now, in any developmental role that we do, at the end, we are always putting ourselves in the issuers, the company shoes, and also the investor shoes. And at the same time, developing our plans in line with Oman Vision 2040. And at the end, our principle is that there should not be any more regulation than necessary. At the end, it's not something that we would actually like to have a regulation, but it becomes just a white elephant, and it doesn't make any sense. So with that in mind, what is currently available in the capital market here in Oman? In Oman. First of all, talking about the equity market, you can actually list. We have both the regular market and the parallel market. I think more on this would actually be spelled out by Mr. Haitam himself during his presentation. But what I would like to highlight is that some of the equity requirements on the MSX is actually very facilitative and flexible. You can actually list greenfield companies without having any profit track record requirement. Suffice to say, you only need, not too high in terms of the paid up capital, especially for those who are converting themselves into public joint stock companies from another legal form. And it's suitable for any form of companies. Now, since we are already allowing greenfield companies, the next step, something which is actually we are introducing and just tweaking some of the requirements in Oman, is to actually allow special purpose acquisition companies. And these are SPACs, or some in the US would actually call blank check companies. In order to stimulate the market, they are involved in M&As, mergers and acquisitions. And this is something that we hope would also be interesting in the market itself. Now, relating to the fixed income market, we do have the bonds and sukuk market. When I talk about the capital market, I'm talking both on the conventional and also on the Islamic finance space. Notwithstanding, Islamic finance was introduced slightly late as compared to the other GCC countries. But Oman has actually made a lot of growth development in this area, especially in the sukuk space. We have actually allowed for the fixed income market. Foreign currency denominated fixed income instruments can be listed on the MSX itself. It's connected through Euroclear account, especially for fixed income instruments, where it's connected to Euroclear, and if it's a Eurobond structure. So what this means is that those investors which have a Euroclear account, not in Oman, can actually buy those Eurobond structures on the MSX and vice versa. So you do not need to have actually an additional MCD account, but you can actually use the Euroclear account which investors already have. At the same time, it also enables dual listings, and this is something that we've always facilitated in the market itself. Talking about the sukuk market, the Islamic finance space has actually grown very rapidly. In terms of the fixed income, in terms of sukuk market itself, it represents already about 20% of the sukuk value on the MSX itself. So within the last, and Islamic finance has only been developed over the last 8 to 9 years. So that's already an achievement by itself, and within the last 8 to 9 years. The Islamic capital market value, when I talk about that, it includes the equity market, the sukuk market, and also the Islamic investment market. That represents close to about 15% of the total capital market value in Oman. Again, that only happens within the last 8 to 9 years. If you look some of the other developed markets, especially in the Islamic finance space, we've only developed over the last 8 to 9 years, whereas other countries have developed over the last 30 to 40 years. So again, that is an achievement by itself. Now, we also facilitate investment funds. As one of my colleagues has mentioned, recently there was a REIT IPO. That was one of the largest in Oman. We technically have about 3 REITs listed on the MXX. We've only introduced it within the last 2 years, the new REITs framework. Alhamdulillah, there are 3 now, with the latest one, Pearl REIT, was actually one of the largest IPOs that came to MSX. We've also facilitated other investment funds, especially there are other private equity, venture capital funds. At the same time, we've also allowed investment funds to actually raise their funding through crowdfunding, and that's another separate sector which I'll talk about, where most countries do not allow, and that's something that we've always been very flexible and facilitative about. This is something that we've just introduced last year, crowdfunding platforms. One of the key objectives, as mentioned by both my colleagues from ST Dharma and also from OIA, one of the areas is that we are looking at Vision 2040. We're looking at providing the alternative financing and funding for some of these companies, at the same time providing that avenue for investors to come in. So we've introduced crowdfunding just last year. Alhamdulillah, we've got good traction. Right now, there's about 8 platforms, and some of them are actually global, international companies, which are actually set up based in Oman itself. I'll highlight just about some of the key points here. It actually allows both conventional and Islamic crowdfunding. It's actually in the first in the GCC to allow global cross-border fundraising and investments where most countries do not provide. So it allows actually not only Oman companies in Oman to raise funding through their platform, but it also allows international or foreign companies to raise their funding from Oman itself through this global platform. So that makes a difference, at the same time allowing investors to actually come in, both foreign and also locals. There are no restrictions on the size of the companies. At the same time, not only SMEs, other companies, but at the same time, investment funds can actually raise funding from there because they are professional investors. For example, if you have a private equity, a venture capital fund, you're looking local investors in Oman, you can actually raise that funding and actually put up the platform to get the investors to actually come in. Again, it includes both sophisticated and also angel investors, including retail investors. And there are no restrictions in terms of the size if the sophisticated investors wish to actually come in terms of their investment. In terms of phase one, we've actually introduced crowdfunding platforms for the primary market. The next step is actually providing that exit avenue or easy exit avenue for foreign investors especially, where you're looking at introducing a secondary market trading for the crowdfunding platforms itself. So that would actually help for especially global investors who's actually coming in to also exit out at the same time. All the requirements or all the new products that we're actually building in Oman in order to increase the depth and also to widen the breadth, the number of instruments, all these are actually underpinned by a new securities law that we have actually introduced last year, which actually facilitates all the new products, services, instruments in Oman, but at the same time providing that extra protection for investors when they come in. And that gives the CMA more powers to protect investors when they actually come to Oman. It's also, the whole infrastructure is underpinned by a good resilient regime in terms of AML CFT, and that is in place, and Oman is also undergoing an assessment by FATF, and that actually provides the confidence and ensure investors when they actually come in. In terms of disclosure platforms, this is also enabled through international standards, through XBRL also. What's in the pipeline? While looking at, in terms of fixed income, we are looking at other innovative and alternative financing structures. We already facilitate, it's already there in the fixed income regulation, but at the same time, it's just providing more clarity for investors. So we are tweaking a bit in terms of the bonds and sukuk regulation to allow green financing, sustainable financing, social wakaf financing. It's there just to provide clarity to investors when they come in. It's in line with ICMA, International Capital Market Association requirements, some of the requirements that relates to green financing, especially having that external review process. So it's just providing clarity, but it does not stop anyone to actually do it now under the existing bonds and sukuk regulatory framework. So you have green financing. We're looking at a carbon credit exchange. And at the same time, I think MSI will talk about in terms of the additional ESG disclosure requirements that can be done through the MXX. As I mentioned, one of the key areas that we're actually introducing is actually time to market. And this is quite key, because at the end, we understand for investors, there are two things that is actually very important: time and money. You know, how fast you can actually go to the market. Now, if you look at some of the other developed markets, if you actually issue a Eurobond in London or in Irish Stock Exchange, there is still a review process when you submit your info memo. It still takes probably 1 week or probably 2 weeks, depending on how complete the whole submission process, if you're actually issuing a Eurobond, for example, in Europe. Here we are actually introducing just a one-day filing, especially for sophisticated investors. So basically, there's no review. You actually just submit and actually off you go. And there's only a requirement of English prospectus, especially for sophisticated investors. This is something which I've touched about in terms of ESG and you know, a sustainable and green financing. The other part is we've also introduced a more relaxed framework for PE and VC funds, and we're introducing ETFs also in the market. What it does is also, again, it's just a one-day filing in terms of any private equity or venture capital funds that investors wish to actually issue from Oman. So it's just a submission of your info memo, and off you go. You're able to actually sell the funds to the market. And again, there are no restrictions on the type and the amount of investments that can be made by the fund itself. Again, I'm running out of time. I'll just wrap it up quickly. The other thing that we're actually introducing, we are actually embracing virtual assets, digital assets in Oman. And this is also to allow financial inclusion and to provide that alternative financing also to investors. Why we're doing this is because we've seen that, it's another funding mechanism, especially for companies, for example, through initial coin offerings. There are also real estate developers who can actually do real estate tokenization to actually raise funding. And that's something that we are going to allow. And these real estate tokens actually can be used by some of these companies to actually hold properties, or the real estate. And crypto exchanges is another part that we will also be introducing. The last part, again, my colleagues has talked about fintech, and this is another enabler which we have actually introduced. This is also part of 2030 Oman Digital Strategy to provide, to enhance digitalization and innovation. We've done that. We have a national fintech team. We've actually allowed it both also in the capital market insurance sector, and we're working closely with central bank in order to allow that payment system between both markets. And we've seen some of the things that in the capital market side where we have a lot of applications looking at smartphone applications, robo-advisory for fund management, blockchain for secured contracts, including blockchain suku. And these are some of the things that we will be introducing also in Oman market itself. Again, that's it. I've actually eaten a lot of the time that's been allocated. But feel free if there's any questions. I think myself and my colleagues are available anytime throughout the day. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kemal Rizadi Arbi. As he had mentioned, there's time allocated for networking that many of you can use to get answers for any question that you may have. Our next speaker is a familiar face, the CEO of Muscat Stock Exchange and chairman of Muscat Clearing and Depository SAOC, with over 19 years of executive experience in capital markets and securities industry, and in leading financial markets institutions, including financial market infrastructure institutions, intermediaries, and investment banks. Academically, he holds an MBA from University of Bedfordshire and is a bachelor graduate in accounting from Sultan Qaboos University. Please, let's welcome Mr. Haytham bin Salem Al Salmi back to the stage, who will be giving an overview about Muscat Stock Exchange's strategy. Also, before we begin, just a reminder to our future speakers, there's a timer right here at the front to help you manage your time. Thank you so much. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Haytham Al Salmi.
Marhaba. It's as usual, the Capital Market Authority, the regulator, eats our time, so I will be limited with the time. And we were talking today morning that the regulators in Oman usually are working hand to hand with the commercials, but it seems that now they're still having the hand power above us. So welcome to MSX, the exchange of opportunities. It's a journey that we have started in 2021 as a commercial company with an over 33 years legacy being, or let's say 32 years legacy being a government unit since 1989, the inception of Muscat Securities Market, and in 2021, which is a great milestone, we are now a commercial company running commercially, having our hand on fire, and we do understand the business now. We need to create our sustainability to survive. And that's the whole, benefit of this, being a commercial, that we need to understand the need of investors and issuers and make sure that we provide all the market infrastructure requirement for them to operate in Oman and gain the financing required. So with our stakeholders, you have seen what happened with OIA. We are now 100% owned by OIA. Thank you, Thuraya. You missed our name in your list. We are part of OIA, being 100% owned by the authority and regulated by Capital Market Authority. We have Stidama. They are the sponsors of our initiatives. We do have more than 36 projects within our strategy for the upcoming 3.5 years. We are done with 1.5, and we remained with 3.5 years. So those initiatives targets the market to be upgraded and to be an emerging market. So in my show, you will see that, of course, the disclaimers. We have upgraded our vision, mission statement, and slogan to be the exchange of opportunities, where we want to create that value and make sure we are one of the best market infrastructure that really conceive the investment environments and links the projects with the financing requirement from the investors. We do have 6 pillars in our strategy. The main one, we want to contribute to the national economy, and that's mainly working in our market size, market capitalization size, and make sure that we are a huge part of our GDP in terms of financing projects. So there is one part of being there where we link the finance to the projects, and the other part where we are really creating that turnover, and we link buyers and sellers together. So with the Stidama, we are there as a secondary market, but we really want to be a real financing tool. What happens with the divestment plan is just an ignition to the market, where the IPO is a sell-off of government-owned properties, but later on we want to be there to finance a real finance, new finance project, and a greenfield project. As an efficient market infrastructure, I'm glad to say that we do have an A-graded CSD, Central Securities Depository and Clearing House. It's rated by an international rating agency, and we have been rated an A, which is one of the highest in the region. And the whole drawbacks that happened and pushed us below A+ has been already covered, so we will run another assessment this year to make sure that we are there. We do comply with all the BFMI requirements in terms of a market or the CSD, and that there are huge tunes that we can do to upgrade this, mainly disclosures, the dissemination of information to the public, as well as the indices, and we have already cut a very important milestones in terms of indices and upgrading the disclosures along with our partners, our regulators. Market attractiveness, the reclassifications. We believe that 70% of our strategies will be completed if we reach our upgrade. The main purpose of the upgrade is to create that volumes and to be there in the watch list and radar of international players. And within our strategy, we put on the core of strategies is the upgrade of our market. Cheaper access and lower investment cost, attractive market, professional intermediaries. We have our intermediaries with us, joining us today. You can meet them, and one of the things we want to do, we will invest on those intermediaries and make sure that they meet the standards of the international requirements. Sustainable exchange, that's where we work as an exchange. We become a commercial company, as I mentioned. We need to make sure that we run on a commercial ground with a financial or sustainable financing that makes sure that the market will always exist and has all the required resources to operate and provide all the financial supports to invest in those strategies. And that will end up listing the exchange as market. We took the Tadawul model here, and we want to list the exchange in itself by 2026. That's the target for now. And to do that, we need to make sure that we do have a diversified revenue streams that really meets the expectations of the investors. Technology is one of the major parts. You have seen in the previous slides that fintech is something we keep talking about. I'm glad to announce that we have been the first blockchain initiative in Oman where we have introduced e-voting in 2020. That system worked very well, and we have as well approached Qatar, and they will be using the same platform for their e-voting. It's a complete straight-through processes that links CMA, issuers, legal advisors, and external auditors, along with the investors, disclosures with the market. It's a straight-through processes that complete the whole AGM chain together. So it was really a big investment for us, and what we want to do now is make it much easier for investors to use our platforms. So we'll start bridging platforms together instead of having multiple platforms and using all what is required to create that big data. We understand that the new gold, the new oil is data, so we want to create that big data that will be valuable, that will help our analysis, that will help us as well create value of those data. MSX Engine is how we invest in our capabilities and our employees and create ambassadors of the exchange. What we have done now for the last 1.5 years, the major achievements, we have removed the ceilings for foreign ownership, so our market is 100% open for ownership for foreigners. We managed with the royal blessing from His Majesty to stop the withholding tax. Used to be 10% of the dividends, now it's totally eliminated. We have already introduced new indices, total return indices. We have created partnership with the regional players, so we have signed many agreements with Tadawul, with Abu Dhabi, with Bahrain, and there are a lot of other markets coming on. Tabadul Hub, where we linked Oman with Bahrain and Abu Dhabi directly, so our brokers have a cross-border license to operate in other markets. We joined already in terms of the ESG, one of the major topics. So we are part of the UNSSE initiatives that will push us at the first stage to have a voluntary disclosures, and maybe later on we will have a mandatory disclosures on all the ESG platforms. And for that, we have accepted the GCC unified ESG criteria that will be implemented in our market. You have seen the 5-year privatization plan of OIA. And to enable that, we have removed all the required let's say, the obstacles that investors really face. So we do have the connection with Euroclear, so we are linked with Euroclear for international players to enter our market. We are investing in our local and international roadshows as well. We have already in the final stages of announcing the liquidity providing and market maker initiatives, and we are really focusing on having such let's say, initiatives, especially the liquidity providing for our new IPOs as well. So we are pushing our partners on the upcoming IPOs to have liquidity provider from day one. And as well, we are focusing on IR, the investor relations. So we are part of MIRA. And lately, we have one seat in MIRA board by one of our staff. And the last project was the SME initiatives. You have seen the crowdfunding, the SME platform. So we want to be the exchange that have the SME registered with us. And it's good to mention that in terms of SMEs, there are companies listed with us that's already part of the SME. And we need just to create that linkage or create that market and push those companies to move to the next level. In terms of our reclassification journey, we are up there. All the technical requirements is there. We want to be, and this is what we are offering you, the journey of the upgrade starts pre-reclassification. And we have seen that many markets has moved up by more than 40% pre-reclassification in terms of volumes, and the prices has moved up more than 45% the prices and indices post reclassification, and the volumes increased more than double, or let's say 95% to be precise. And that journey that we are tackling now is where we invite you to join. Finally, the ESG requirement. I have mentioned that we are part now of the unified ESG criteria that has been announced by all GCC exchanges. We started our roadshows, our workshops to introduce the idea to the companies. It's great to mention that our crown jewels companies has already published their ESG and their reports, ESG, let's say, disclosures. And what we will do next is just to unify those disclosures, so it will be compatible, and make sure that those disclosures hit the disclosure platform of the exchange. That's all what I want to introduce to you. I think the most critical presentation will be the upcoming 2 presentations by our intermediaries. We have a presentation on the performance of our listed companies, and then we have a presentation on the performance of the exchange itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your very informative words, Mr. Haytham Al-Salmi, CEO of Muscat Stock Exchange. Our next speaker today is Mr. Tariq Abdelrazak, Deputy General Manager of United Securities. He holds a bachelor degree in accounting and commerce. He is also a holder of the International Capital Markets qualification and an International Investment Advisory certificate from the Securities Institute of London. He is also a registered broker with advisory license from MSM. He has over 30 years experience in the regional financial markets, of which 25 years in the Omani capital markets, with extensive experience in investment and portfolio management, business development, and deal structuring activities. Please let's give him a warm welcome to the stage, and he will be speaking about market performance and investment opportunities in Oman.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce Oman for the international investors. I was about to talk about Oman as an opportunity and how does it look to play the market in Oman. And to be honest, finding why Oman and how to invest in Oman and why to invest in Oman now is something that I thought that I will start with, because at the beginning, we are a part of this region, part of the Middle East, and we have different markets with different stages of development, and all these markets have its own merits. So I wanted to find the niche for Oman, and why should we invest in Oman, and why should we now invest in Oman, and then how to play this market. So basically, looking at Oman, one of the things that I found is that Oman has a certain merit that is very important, which is demographics. And additional to that, we have a certain state of economy that we are going through now, and the new change which is presented by Sheikh Haytham, the head of MSX, is the changes of regulations and the situation of the current stock exchange. So basically, I thought demographics for me is a very important point. It's a point that maybe nobody has touched about in Oman, but one of the things is that we have to look at is what is Oman now? What is it doing in terms of demographics as a country? Oman has a total population that is growing at 4 or 5%. And if you look at the percentage of Omanis in the countries, they have grown from 58% to 62%, which is another 4 or 5%. Combined with the biggest percentage of young population. 80% of Omanis are under 40 years. With this kind of young population, the quality of this population is very important, because the Omanis who are attending college between the ages between 20 to 40, they form around 54% against 37% a few years ago. And urbanization has increased to 36% from 20%. Looking at this kind of education with the energetic new young population, with this kind of percentage, we have now a substantial increase in leadership positions to Omanis. If you look at the MSX 30, most of the CEOs in MSX 30s are Omanis. So why is this important? Why I've looked at it as this important? This means this is an irreversible progression. This country has a dynamic, young, educated, very high dynamic population, which will drive growth. This growth is an inherited criteria into Oman, driven by its own population with their own merits, which doesn't stop, because this means that this new dynamic generation will have better income, better spending, inherited spending in the development of the country, and it is sustainable. And this is where the sustainability comes from, the growth of Oman, comes from the drivers of its merits, from its own population, which is generic and incorporated in the country. So I felt this is very important for whoever wants to invest in Oman for the long term. It's a very important aspect, is that to know that this country is stable enough and has the systematic growth that is incorporated in its population and its system. The second thing, the state of economy. Oman has reached a crossline, crossing 100 billion in terms of GDP, and we have a growth that is steady and consistent, with IMF estimating around 5% growth in GDP. And we have, although that we have this growth of GDP, we still have moderate inflation. The government has managed to sustain the inflation. And we have a lineup of projects. Okay, we have seen some of the projects and the size of projects that are introduced by government entities that have presented before me, but combining the projects of the country from different resources, I found that we are facing around 200 billion worth of projects in the coming period. And these projects are not driven by oil and gas. It's actually diversified. We have a huge chunk of it is coming from construction, and we have other in transportations, logistics, in other industrial, and oil and gas, which means that the diversification of 2040 vision is happening, and we can see it on ground in different sectors, and this will give a different flavor for the economy. This will give me some kind of also against sustainability. So we have a linear GDP. We have a huge push to public-private participation projects, which will combine the power of the government with the efficiency of private sector, and huge size of projects coming in with diversification, with controlled inflation. And this means that we have an enhanced inflation-adjusted returns, and all of this will push to a sustainable growth in the country. A combination of economy plus vibrant dynamics, young population, and money with projects. This is where a country that is growing and has a sustainable growth. Add to that combination, as Sheikh Haytham presented earlier, we have a market that is undergoing a huge upgrade in terms of regulations. We have a line of IPOs that are coming, which will add a lot of diversification to the market. We have seen one just closing now, Abraj Energy, which gives an exposure to the drilling and oil sector in Oman, which was not there before. We had only a few oil market companies. The foreign ownership is improved. They have an open float of 100% of companies, and a new inherited and incorporated push to governance, pushing companies to maintain investor relations, having con-calls, adding the market-making products to the whole combination, and new products like margin lending, stock lending, short selling, and other market access instruments that will help enhance the market and the way that we can play the market. So add to this combination, we have put it all together, I think that the market is going more to global standards. So MSX and CMA has focused on implement an ecosystem that is a complete ecosystem that helps international investors to be comfortable in the country, open to foreign investment, with a stable and sustainable growth, and somewhere where you can invest comfortably, feeling that over the years, this system and the inherited growth in the country will help your investment growth despite your investment decision. It's an investment-friendly system, adding new products and the potential upgrade of MSCI. So this is how Oman looks and how I see it should look for foreign investors or regional investors looking at Oman, a safe haven with an ecosystem that is growing. So that is said, so why now? Why should we invest now in Oman? I feel Oman in general is an inflection point, the change. Whenever you play a market, whenever you play investment, you look for the change and growth and the opportunity in that growth. And this is where I see Oman happening now. Changes, economy, dynamics, demographics, all working together and looking at the situation of the economy. We are on a change now. You can see revenues of the companies are sustaining on a certain level. From the last 2 years, it's coming up and maintaining its revenues. We have no major drawdowns, no shocks in the market except for 2008. That was more than 12, 15, or 13 years ago. At the same time, we have rising size in terms of volumes, participation, and the profits of these companies also rising. So what does that mean? It comes back to the evaluation of the market. We have a market that is still trading at 10 PE. We have a market that has a growing number of growing revenues, dividend yields at the highest, and at the same time, we have a low price to book in the market. This is the formula for growth. This is the formula for change. And this is the formula for progression in evaluation. So I'm looking at a market that has to adjust its numbers. The PE has to go up, dividend yields has to go down, and we should see the growth. So this is a market that reflects that it's time to grow. Now, last year we had, we were the second best market, or I think the best market in the region to perform. And despite this kind of performance, we're still at the valuation level and the valuation point that gives me a look at a substantial potential of growth in the market. So if this is the market, then I would look how we can grow the market, how we can play the market. There is a diversified sectors and subsectors in Oman with different kind of markets and industries. Now, for me, I looked at the market in 3 ways, to be honestly, how to approach it to benefit the best, depending on the investor appetite and what kind of approach he would like. But I feel that the market, with this kind of size and diversification of size of companies and diversification of evaluation of companies, have different ways to play. I've looked at it in terms of 3 ways. One is strategic investment, one is a long-term investment, and one as trading ideas. What I mean by strategic investment, I will introduce some of the ideas and give you a flavor of the market and the opportunities in the market to be on ground and actual relate to investment approach. Something like what we call, this is the leasing sector in Oman, as an idea of investment, strategic investment. The leasing sector used to grow on double digit. That was in 2015, 2016, around that time. Our banking sector is growing at 5%, 6%. Now, the leasing sector is growing at a single digit. This sector has been always profitable, continuously profitable, and it has, in the last few years, because of the economic difficulties, faced certain growth in non-performing loans. There is a shrinkage in kind of loans, and still we are trading at 50% of book value. These companies are hungry for cash, and they should be participating in the coming growth of the economy. We have the structural projects that are coming. We said that the diversification, that means we will have requirements for equipment financing, for automobile financing, and this sector is supposed to grow double digit in the future. So investors looking for opportunities can look at private placement or capital raising for these kind of companies with strategic partnership and maybe a potential for certain unusual investment in Oman. And this sector, one of the examples of sectors, I'm going to put down to the point investment opportunities. So if I look at the companies, there are different kind of companies in the leasing sector and with different kind of growth. All of them are profitable. All of them have a dividend yield of more than 5%. Mostly all of them are at 50% book value and huge potential, looking for someone to support. So this is one of the sectors that are there. And there are several sectors, several companies in Oman that can benefit from such approach. So companies within the same sector, the same strategies can look at these things. The second way of approaching the market is long-term investment. We have several companies in Oman that have sustainable, steady growth with performance that is achieved on historical basis with dividends that are sustainable. I looked at, let's say, Bank Muscat. Bank Muscat compared to banks in the region, looking at 10 times PE and around 1 to 1.2 times price to book, a bank that performs around 30% of the total market lending and 33% of total assets of the country. And still in comparison with the region, it's on a steep discount to any other peers. So these kind of opportunities are available in Oman. You are earning here a steady dividend yield of more than 5.5% on a steady basis that was performed and approved for the last 12 years, maybe more. So basically, a long-term investment have yielded well for Bank Muscat, and we can see from the figures, I can show it later on also, but on a brush on, just to show you on ground what Oman means. We have also Oman Cement, two operational manufacturing facilities in cement in Oman against, in the neighboring country, we have around 27. So basically, with the infrastructure projects that are happening, the huge growth potential, we have one operator in the middle region of Oman. It has a dominant in this kind of sector, and the company maintained this kind of systematic and profitable performance during even the slowdowns of period of COVID and beyond that. And it's still trading on an attractive prices with sustainable also and steady dividend yield. This is a play also for the long term on the infrastructure development of Oman and economic growth that is bound to happen in the coming years. Another opportunity, National Bank of Oman, second largest bank in Oman. This bank has been performing unusually across all parameters away from the banks. They have done 8.6% growth in loan book. And this is beating all other banks in Oman. And it has the highest deposit book growth, more than 4.4%, and still trading at an attractive yield of 9.9 price to book and around 9.5 PE. These opportunities are stable, long-term investment opportunities that are stable with consistent dividend that needs, and we're looking for a re-evaluation process that will happen in the future. And this is still happening. I mean, even with the growth of last year, we still can find this kind of jewel opportunities comparable to the region and overlooked against the other markets. Omantel is also a major player that is overlooked, in my opinion, against the regional players. This company is a mammoth company, actually. It's a huge company. They have controlled Zain, and they are becoming one of the largest players in the region. Still trading at 1 times price to book and 8 times price multiple. This company has given sustainable and consistent dividend for the last, since it was listed in the back days. I mean, the dividend yield is above 5.5 continuously, and securely we are sure that this will continue. They have reduced their loan book, and the company is going to grow its cash positions, and which means that we can see upfront that this company is going to increase dividend in the coming years, maybe next year or the year after, whatever, but the growth and route for this company is clear, and still it is, compared to the peers, is undervalued. I'm just giving the potential and undervalued potentials in Oman, which is overlooked, and I think we should present them. The last way to play the market is actually also trading. This market can be also accessed through trading. There is a lot of trading opportunities in Oman. The flow of information, the investor relation norms, the governance that is imposed on companies will ensure certain flow of consistent information that will be coming to the market, which means creating opportunities and potential of shift and sudden shift and changes in prices, which help traders also. So the market can be played in 3 ways, and full 3 ways are all available. Just as an idea, I've listed this, just a sample of examples. There is a lot of examples for this, but just to explain a little bit, like I've picked around 4 companies. Al-Anwar Ceramic, one of the manufacturing companies, they sell their products in Oman, in the region, and they are related to the construction materials, which is the coming stage of growth in Oman. And there's a huge projects that are coming up in the regionally and in Oman. The company is trading around 10 times PE, and this company has 0 debt, consistent dividend, and it has performed extremely well. For the last 3 years, the company has grown from its lowest level to highest level around 300%, and still this company shows a discount to peers around the region and potential of growth and potential of actually fundamental performance. So, the company is actively traded in general. So for me, I feel that it also can be used as a trading opportunity. Another opportunity, Renaissance Services. This company has services extended to oil and gas sector, hospitality, and other related services. The company has expanded to new cities that are developed in Oman, like Duqm area. They provide projects in hospitality there also. Additionally, they have recently expanded to Qatar. The company has been steadily expanding for the last period of time, last 3 years, generating consistent profits, and started to give dividend yields that are well seen at high dividend yield 5.8, between lowest 4.7, and we are projecting to reach 5.8%. Very actively trading, and still trading at 9 times. And this shows that there is a huge also trading opportunity there. Galfar Engineering, a contracting company that is large in size. They are the biggest contracting company in Oman. They have been attracting a lot of contracts lately. Their order book is growing fast. It's a no-brainer that those people were going to materialize on getting profits from this order book that is growing for the coming few years. The company has doubled in price for the last 2 years, and still I feel that this company has a huge potential for growth there. All we have to do is wait for these announcements that are come, and we can read from the market that these announcements are going to come. Actively trading, good volumes, and it's a play also on the development and growth of Oman that is coming. We have talked about the infrastructure projects that are coming, and Oman is introducing a new infrastructure. It's development, so this company will be an excellent play. And finally, I've introduced also Ooredoo, which is a play on the local market for telecommunication and the growth of the country with the development of its population and demographics. The company has services around, extends services around 3 million subscribers, cash rich, dividend yield, and all the good things that come from a well-managed, with technology supported and regional heavy players in the company. And this company have been always a target of international investors. We can see the flows there in that company, and they have excellent governance with good disclosures, which makes it also a good target for trading opportunities. I conclude my presentation. I wanted to be on ground, to be honest, taking our specific, not only strategic and just general norms. I want to say that Oman is showing a huge potential to be on the inflection point. This is the point where I think the market to diversify, to distinguish this market against the other markets in the region is that this market is on the verge of this move, and this is why we feel that this market should be a target for investors in the coming future. This is the coming 2 years. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Tariq Abdel Razak, Deputy General Manager of United Securities. I want to remind everyone that we have 3 speakers remaining before we proceed to the coffee break. Afterwards, we will have a networking session for any one of you who may have any questions regarding what we've seen today. Our next speaker is Mr. Rohit Chowdhury, Chief Investment Officer at U Capital. Rohit is an investment professional with over 2 decades of experience in managing multi-asset class investment portfolios in the GCC and international markets. Currently, he is the Chief Investment Officer at U Capital, and over the last 15 years, he has covered both conventional and Sharia-compliant investment framework. Prior to joining U Capital, he has worked for Bank of Bahrain and Kuwait, Bahrain Islamic Bank in the Treasury and Investment Department with Gulf Badr Capital Markets as the head of asset management. Over the course of his career, he has contributed significantly to the development of people, products, and processes in the investment field. Rohit holds a bachelor degree in electronics engineering and a master's degree in business economics. Please join us on stage, Mr. Rohit, to give us an overview of Oman sector's outlook. Thank you.
How do I get started? And if I want to go backwards, Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here presenting in front of you the outlook for Oman and how does Oman look like for an investor who's not looked at Oman, and what are the key dynamics of Oman. So in the next few minutes, and I've got a timer here, so it's about 20 minutes, I'll make you go through what are the structural changes that are happening in Oman. We'll go through that in a minute. And after that, we'll build up as to what are the key themes that we're looking at individual sectors. So here we go without much ado. So this is the flow of the presentation. We'll look at Oman opportunities, then we'll look at some dynamic macroeconomic landscape, some key themes regarding various sectors. So we just touch upon some specific points. There are a lot of material in this presentation, and I'll be happy to engage with each one of you after the presentation. But we'll try, in the interest of time, we'll try to be very specific and take out the key points. These are some of the sectors that are represented in Oman. Largely, they are focused in financials, with 65%. Telecom is about 11% of the total market cap, energy, and you have industrials around 11%. There are a lot of sectors that are missing in Oman. Oman has got a buoyant hydrocarbon economy, but yet we don't have an upstream or a midstream representation, which will be rectified very soon. On 14th of March, we have the listing of the first upstream oil and gas play, which is Abraj, and then hopefully in the next half of 2023, we'll have a midstream play. What we're talking about Oman, we look at the growth rate on a year-to-year basis. So what we have plotted here on the top is Oman on a 3-year average basis. Why 3-year is important and non-overlapping? Because it eliminates noise. So while you're looking at Oman's real GDP growth rate, you will see that Oman's growth rate has never lagged too much beyond GCC's real GDP growth rate. A lot of people talk about Oman is lagging, and et cetera, but you take the 3-year averages, non-overlapping, you will see there is not much of a difference. In certain periods, you will see actually the growth has exceeded. If you look at inflation, inflation is broadly in line with what other economies are actually witnessing. The structure of the CPI is also somewhat similar. We looked at 2022, what contributed to inflation, And what contributed inflation was essentially food and transportation. And they started to go down globally. And we saw that inflation in Oman also started to go down globally, and largely it is well contained. If you look at developed economies or emerging market economies, you're looking at double-digit inflation. But here in the GCC and including in Oman, we were in the middle single digits, so largely contained. We're looking at now the macro dynamics. We looked at the twin surpluses and twin deficits. In 2014 onwards, all the way to 2021, we saw deficits. But you look at the delta, you look at the change from that's happened from 2020 onwards. We are looking at now moderate surpluses, returning back from 2022 onwards until 2025, 2026. So we are looking at liquidity improving. The government capacity to spend in the market will improve considerably. And that's something which is very useful. If you look at the break-even prices on oil with respect to the fiscal or the current account, they are largely in line with what other economies are. Now, we're talking about structural change. Essentially, in the next few slides, I'll talk about 5 changes. These are the changes that are important determinants of why you, as an investor, should be looking at Oman from a top-down approach. And then these are the themes that actually will drive your decisions when it comes to picking up sectors and even stocks. First, you're looking at the shift of the base of Oman's hydrocarbon revenues. It used to be only 14% of gas, and gas we know is a transitional fuel for the world. And this year, and perhaps next year, you will see gas demand exceeding coal demand for the first time. So gas is the transitional fuel. Oil demand is likely to stay flat for the next decade or so, and even beyond that, but gas demand started to soar. Now, how does Oman fare in this? Oman was, in 2014, around 12% natural gas revenues as a percentage of oil revenues. Now, it's about 33%. That's a 2.5 times shift over a decade. That's huge. So Oman has already embraced the fact that we are looking at a new transitional fuel, and they are looking to improve their production levels, increasing the revenue levels. So that is one way of actually diversifying away from oil dependence by moving away from oil to somewhat midstream fuel, which is gas. Second change, debt profile. Now that is huge. Now you look at the debt levels actually that went up as a percent of GDP until 2020, and they started to go down because government announced a medium-term fiscal plan, and they had a very good public debt management office. We are looking at debt to GDP ratio declining in a glided manner, and it's actually coming down quite significantly. If you look at external debt, and that's something that most people miss out on. It is the external debt that actually gets countries into trouble because that's the debt that is difficult to roll over. You look at the external debt, actually the trend is even more promising over there. So you're looking at numbers here. The numbers are very promising with respect to what other countries are. Oman, along with Qatar, are both on the same trajectory. They're buying back bonds now. They're prepaying the loans. They're buying back bonds. That's the trend shift that's happened. You look at the ratings migration. The rating agencies have taken note of that. Across the board, you're seeing ratings migration improving. Either the outlook is improving or the rating upgrade is happening. So you're looking at delta. The speaker before me actually pointed out very well that you look at the delta, look at the change. That is important. And we're looking at the change here, and the change is very promising. You're looking at the bunching of payments, which happened in 2022. That was a problematic area, and 2022, Oman was able to come out of that with flying colors. Going forward, the sovereign debt repayments are going to be very, very moderate, very controlled. So we have no issues regarding as far as debt repayment scheduling is concerned. Structural change 3. A lot of our speakers actually talked about foreign direct investments. How does it look in numbers, broad numbers? We're looking at numbers right now, it's about 4% of GDP, net FDI as a percent of GDP. Where do we see this number happening given all the new projects, initiative, the size of the investments that are coming in? We are looking at doubling of this number by 2025. So you're looking at this number exceeding the peak that we saw in 2007, which is something which one has to take notice of. Now, this is important in one more aspect. Why this is important? This is important because when the FDI goes up, it doesn't go up just because of equity. Project lending also goes up. So you will see that even the banks will have more of opportunities to lend in a syndicated manner to these type of opportunities. So not only the FDI will go up, you will see the credit growth rate improving, and credit growth rate is, the quality of credit growth rate is going to be far more better than what is there now in terms of the personal lending to commercial loans mix, which is 65 to 35 right now. We expect that to improve to 60-40 going forward. Structural change 4. We are looking at the non-hydrocarbon private revenue coming out of VAT. This is going to increase the contribution from about 1.8 or let's say 1.7 to around 2.8. So 1 full percentage point of GDP is going to be added from here. That's huge. You're looking at the wage bill. The wage bill actually peaked out at 11% as a percent of GDP. That's important. We're going forward, and these are IMF estimates. These are independent numbers which have been given by IMF in the Article 4. They're saying that that's going to stabilize at 9%. So from 11, you're looking at 9. 2 full percentage points decline they're looking at, and they're saying they're going to sustain it. And why this is happening, and this is important. There are 3 changes that are happening at the consolidation level. 1, the ministries have been merged, so there is a lot of saving there. Second, the salary scales have been revised. That is also helping a lot. So these are 2 consolidations that are happening. Third, which is not related to this part, but is important for the banking sector as such, there's a lot of consolidation that is happening at the financial sector level. Starting with Bank Sohar, HSBC Oman, that's something that is going to happen. It's going to improve the capital ratios, and therefore, the banks have more ability to lend to these large scale items. The capital ratios are the ones which were weak for certain banks. Now they improved considerably. People talk about the demand. Young population, Oman, yes. But what is also missed out often that expatriate population is actually increasing. We are back again to all-time highs. That is going to propel demand, not only from Omanis, but from expatriates. You look at the tourism potential. The tourism was actually very strong, over 50% in terms of hotel revenues, in terms of tourists arriving in Oman last year. That also gives you a sign of the confidence that the economy is having from international tourists and the kind of facilities and the kind of destinations that we provide in Oman. Now, if we're talking about banking sector, we just go and brush through certain segments, certain themes that we are looking at in various sectors. So I'll just do a broad brush of all the sectors that we have, or most of the important sectors that we have, and touch upon the key items. The first and the foremost that we are looking at is the credit growth rate. We are looking at the lending growth rate. We are looking at the non-performing assets, etc. And all these numbers fare very well with the GCC counterparts. So which will come in a minute. Actually, I'll just shift it to this part. You look at Oman banks versus GCC bank. You look at the capital adequacy ratio is comparable to rest of the region. You're looking at the gross non-performing assets percent total loans. That's also very controlled. You're looking at return on equity, which is a bit muted at this stage because the lending growth has been muted because the government has been absent. It has already said that we're going to repay our loans first and then we're going to spend. But now that 2022 is over, you will see lending coming back, investors coming back, foreign investment coming back. That number should rise as project lending rises. You're looking at now, if you look at the right-hand side of the panel, it gives you a brief snapshot of how the lending growth is actually been until 2022, return on assets, capital adequacy ratio, net stable funding ratio, liquidity ratios, etc. All are favorable. And they are showing a massive improvement in terms of positive change. So that's something that one needs to take account of going forward from here. What actually will drive banking, apart from project lending? Household spending. Household spending was weak. It was minus 0.5%. In 2022, it's about 2%, expected to grow at 3%. And it's coming from two sources. One, expats are coming back. That's something that's a sign of confidence. That's happening. Second, you're looking at Omanis actually spending a lot more as they become more prosperous, as they become more educated, jobs are being created. That should help. In terms of the structure of the banking sector, around 1/3 of the total lending is towards real estate construction, on a broader sense. That should change as FDI increases. And you see on the bottom point in the slide, we have mentioned that the personal lending and housing loans to corporate and commercial loans is 65-35. We anticipate over the next 2 or 3 years, that shift will be radical. That shift could be as high as 60-40. Now, you would say that doesn't move the needle. But in terms of the ratios don't move much. From 65-35 to 60-40, that's a massive shift. Is Oman dependent on wholesale banking? Well, not much. They are not dependent on wholesale banking. The CASA ratios are very good, actually above 50%, on an average for the entire banking system. So that's something which is a very big positive, especially in a rising rate regime environment, because you have a big reliance on CASAs, which is a huge positive. Insurance sector, I'll just touch upon this in a minute. Insurance sector, actually, if you look at the non-life, that actually comprises of the bulk of the insurance premiums. And within the non-life, you have the health insurance, which is the largest. Then the second one, and the other two are property insurance, which is also quite strong. And we are looking at some consolidation that is happening there, cross-border consolidation. Recently, you had National Life, which completed the acquisition of RSA Middle East. So that's something. And even internally, there are some consolidations which are happening. So coming to the theme of the ministries being merged, banking sector getting consolidated, insurance sector, you're seeing consolidation. A lot of efficiencies are going to be unlocked by these consolidations that are happening, which is something of a positive. And from a longer-term perspective and a structural perspective, that assumes a huge importance. People actually miss out, a lot of participants actually miss out at what happens to gross capital formation. Where are we in the gross capital formation? What happens to the investment ratio? Right now, investment ratio have been muted because the corporate lending hasn't occurred because FDI hasn't come into the market. Now what is likely to happen, as the FDI comes in, as equity comes in, you have the project lending coming up, you have the gross capital formation going up or investment ratio going up, and that's a multiplier that will actually propel growth rate from its present level by at least 1.5 percentage points over the next 5 years. This gives you a broad structure as to how the utility sector is actually being structured. I will not go into the detail. There are about 4 geographical regions, the MIS, the Dukum, Dhofar, and Musandam. Apart from Dukum, which is expected to grow about 10% per annum, which is where a lot of this development is happening, the electricity demand is expected to be around 3%. Large part of this demand is residential. And as expats come back, and as expats which families come back, you will see that demand picking up. You will also see demand picking up from the industrial segment as the project lending, as the new projects come online. So that's something which is there. Now, if you look at the first 2 lines, it shows that the electricity production is actually more than the consumption. There's a surplus. So what's going on here? I mean, there's a surplus, so what's so great about this sector? And why, as per MENA Power and Risk-Reward Index, which is the Fitch Index, it is the 4th most attractive power sector in the region. What is happening is the T&D loss is about 10%. That is, system loss is about 10%. That actually defines that. Second, there is some surplus in the spot market where a lot of these electricity companies are supplying. Now, 4 of these companies will be going offline, and therefore that difference between the production and the consumption is going to get eliminated completely. Water and distribution, I'm not going to tell, that's steady state. We have a very good, we have a couple of companies which are into desalination, et cetera, and more will come online. And the demand is very steady state. Upstream, midstream, we are looking at Abraj, which is oil and gas rig play. and this is going to get listed in 14th. We have massive interest from coming on from this, and we think that following this success, you will have another midstream play coming in. So what was absent in Oman at the stock exchange level is going to be addressed by these two segments, both an upstream and a midstream. Telecom sector, if you look at mobile connections, the percent population, it is one of the lowest in the region. Actually, it's the lowest. So there's a lot of potential for a catch-up as far as GCC is concerned. So that's something which is there. The second most important trend is the post-paid mobile segment is also underpenetrated. The fiber to home segment is underpenetrated. So a lot of potential for the telecom companies to actually address these. There is a third operator that has come in, which is Vodafone, and that will take away the share. But if you look at the level of underpenetration, the pie is enough for all three operators at this point of time. The ARPUs are not staggeringly high. Actually, they're the lowest right now. So there's a fear often that, if the ARPUs are high, ARPUs might trend down because the region will pay catch-up. That's not the case here. The ARPUs are well contained. Cement sector is expected to grow at 5%. Oman Cement is the company that probably will be one of the biggest beneficiaries because of various projects which are going on in various places in Oman, and particularly the Oman-Saudi corridor that will get built up and developed and come in. That location for Oman Cement will be the single biggest beneficiary. Ceramic tiles. These two companies actually, they are exporters to Saudi and UAE. So there are no new names for a lot of these investors, distinguished investors who are sitting here. They do a lot of work. And for some income investors, they become prominent names as well. So that completes my presentation. I've left her only 11 seconds, so I had to rush through the slides. I'll be happy to take any questions after this meeting. And thank you very much for giving me a time to present the themes and the sector. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rohit, for that very interesting presentation. I was particularly interested in learning that Oman's revenue from green energy has been steadily increasing. I think it's ideal that we're learning this information on the verge of Oman Sustainability Week, which begins on the 12th of March. Oman has been steadily pushing the agenda to become a green hydrogen hub, and it goes along with Oman's vision 2040. So hopefully soon, it's most likely that these revenue from green energy will begin skyrocketing soon. But without any further ado, let's begin by introducing our next speaker, Mr. Badr Al-Shanfari, who currently serves as serves as Chief Operating Officer at Ominvest. He has over 17 years of experience in the field of investment and financial services. Throughout his career, Badr has held various leadership positions, including the CEO of Uzbek Oman Investment Company, which is the leading private equity firm based in Tashkent. He then took a role as EVP of International Strategic Business at Ominvest and Deputy CEO of Eastbridge Partners, based out at Singapore, to lead Ominvest's Southeast Asian initiatives. Badr has served and is currently on multiple boards of various companies in different sectors and geographies. He earned his bachelor's degree in business administrations from Duquesne University and his MBA from Strathclyde University. In addition, Badr is a certified public accountant from the United States of America, state of Delaware. Please, let's give him a warm welcome to the stage, and he will be speaking today to us about 40 years of legacy of success. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here today with you. I know we're running a bit late, and this is before the last presentation, So I'll try to make it brief and hopefully informative. See if first if this works. Okay. Disclaimer, this is our lawyers insisted to have the slide, so please have a look at it in case I need to refer to it in the presentation. I'll give you a quick overview of Ominvest, have a select portfolio to look at, and then conclude with the performance indicators. Ominvest is one of the largest investment listed companies in the MENA region. We are very proud, as we are celebrating 40 years since inception, that 2022 has been a record profit year for the company, and this has continued its success since inception. We are also very proud that we have uninterrupted profits, growing at a CAGR of 19% since inception. In addition, uninterrupted dividends. And this is really a testament to all the boards, shareholders, and management team that have been in place before us. As of today, we have $3.4 billion of assets. This is in different investments. In the strategic sector, in Oman, we focus on market leaders, as I'll touch upon in my presentation. As 2022 was an exceptional year of record profits, that has been reflected in our dividend yield, which has always been very attractive, but even more so this year. In addition to corporate governance being a key aspect of our investment philosophy, as you can see from the points, 77% of our investments are in listed companies. That said, the private investments as well, corporate governance is a key part of our focus. In addition, while going through 40 years of different cycles, maintaining a prudent treasury management is key, and as we stand today, our leverage ratio is below 1. Our purpose statement for Ominvest is transforming businesses to enrich societies. This is a key message that's part of our day-to-day operations as we do invest. Earlier, presenters talked about ESG and sustainable investments. That is a theme we believe in and we're practicing everyday operations. Below are our key core values, as you can see, and this is part of Ominvest's culture. We are highlighting some of the milestones. I will not touch upon all of them. We're focusing on the last 10 years. A key, you can say, inflection point was in 2014 when a new strategy was put in place. This led to a merger between Ominvest and Onic Holding, which really moved the entity to become more diversified. We are hearing today the theme, naturally, from the government side, merging ministries, entities, as well as you see this in companies as well. That was a key factor, led to multiple mergers at our subsidiary levels and also expansion outside the region. In 2019, we acquired a stake in a private equity firm out of Singapore that has presence in Korea and Vietnam to be Southeast Asia's presence. And I'll come upon one of the latest transactions, which is our subsidiary National Life's acquisition and expansion into the region. So as I mentioned, 2014 was a key year. If we look at diversification by sector, in 2014, almost 94% or 97% of our assets were in banking. As we stand today, it's a little over 50%. Investment banking, private equity has increased. Insurance is playing more and more a key role for the group, in addition to other diversified sectors in real estate, global capital markets, and leasing as well. As for geographic, by end of 2014, 100% of our investments were in Oman. As end of last year, more than half are outside Oman, keeping in mind that our investments and assets are growing as we speak. This highlights the key investments. So I'll touch upon maybe the sectors. Ominvest has always been very strong in financial services, and that continues to be the case. In insurance, National Life is a key market leader in Oman. I'll come to a slide that talks more about its recent transaction. It owns 100% of Royal Sun Alliance in the Middle East business. in addition to having a leading reinsurance business out of NASDAQ and a takaful business in Oman. So National Life is the market leader. We always focus on investing in those entities. In banking, Oman has always been an investor in banking sector. Oman Arab Bank, which owns 100% subsidiary of Al-Izz Islamic Bank. Bank Muscat, the leading bank in Oman. We are one of the largest shareholders. In addition to Ahli Bank, which also is a subsidiary of Ahli United Bank. Leasing, National Finance is also the leading leasing company in Oman. I hope you see the theme. So we're looking at investing in the leading entities in financial services. In addition to that, our colleague Rohit from U Capital, which is one of Ominvest's subsidiaries, one of the leading investment banks in Oman. Move to the diversification, Jabrin Capital was formed in 2017. It's a 100% subsidiary. It has, as I mentioned earlier, invested in a private equity GP that has operations out of Singapore, Korea, and Vietnam. With that, we had investments in manufacturing facilities in Korea, healthcare manufacturers in Vietnam. In addition to diversifying in the region, we have investments in schools, K-12 in the GCC. Our latest investments was in Riyadh. We have schools in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and looking to expand in a GCC platform. And inshallah, planning to list in the coming years this education platform. In addition to having real estate, where we recently launched projects out of Oman that's around Muscat Hills Golf Course. So this will be open to the public from next week. And while we talked about moving the markets to become more liquid, one area where to improve the liquidity of Ominvest, a global capital markets program was launched a couple of years ago, and it is going to continue to build and give us exposure to international liquid assets that not only generate return, but if needed, you can liquidate and generate cash at a much faster pace than our other investments. I'll touch quickly on National Life. This demonstrates Ominvest's support and role with its subsidiaries, where National Life led the merger or the acquisition of RSA Middle East business. This was done in 2 transactions. One was acquiring slightly over 50% stake of RSA globally. They exited these investments. The other 4 shareholders, reputable Saudi investors, who have exchanged their shares for shares in National Life. And as we stand today, National Life being a regional player with multi-line businesses, they are the Saudi shareholders combined, are the second largest shareholder after Ominvest, which retained a controlling stake of around 50%. And quickly touching upon the performance. So as you can see, last year was a record year for Ominvest. That said, it has been continuously profitable. The dividend payout, you can see the note there. While it's been proposed and announced, we are still waiting for shareholder and regulatory approval. And it will be, while our dividend yield has always been attractive, this will be an exceptional year as well. Liquidity, as they say, cash is king. So managing liquidity is very important. So while we have our bank limits in place, there's always room to expand. The currency exposure is linked to our assets. The tenure of repayments also linked to the nature of our assets, and that's why you'll see more longer-term returns. And we are in a healthy position and look to actually deploy in the coming years. Finally, while we are very proud and celebrating 40 years of achievements at Ominvest, we look forward to, inshallah, the coming 40 years to continue the success and having our stakeholders benefit and join us in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Badr Al-Shanfari, for staying within your time limit. He still had 20 seconds on the clock, so you did a great job there. And thank you for that informative presentation. We have one more speaker today, but I'd kindly like to ask everyone to stay behind afterwards to hear a word from the CEO of Muscat Stock Exchange. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. After the coffee break, we're going to have a networking event by the booths that are located over there on this side of the hall. I'd like to ask everyone to really make use of the time to network, as obviously we don't always get this opportunity to have the top listed companies at Muscat Stock Exchange all gathered here in one place. But without any further ado, let us get to the last but not least speaker, Mr. Khalid Al-Qasabi, CFO of OQGN. He has 17 years of experience in the energy and financial sector in Oman, and he holds a bachelor degree in accounting and finance from the University of Leeds. And he will be speaking to us about the intro to OQ gas networks. But before he begins, let us view a corporate video from OQGN. Thank you.
The Sultanate of Oman, a nation rich in splendor and beauty.
Sorry, plane.
The Sultanate of Oman, a nation rich in splendor and beauty. A nation that is deeply committed to a sustainable world in its provision of high-value raw materials to global markets. As a globally integrated energy company, OQ is merging ability, innovation, and technology to develop solutions for customers across the entire energy value chain. Critical to this mission is OQGN, the OQ gas network, the backbone of Oman's energy ecosystem, and the exclusive operator and owner of Oman's gas transportation network. OQGN is proud to operate a gas transportation network of more than 4,000 kilometers of pipelines, connecting 6 primary gas suppliers in Oman to more than 160 customers across critical industries. Since our inception in 2000, we have grown to become one of the largest infrastructure assets in Oman. OQGN has achieved more than 99.9% gas availability over the last 10 years and transported 37 billion standard cubic meters of gas to its customers in 2021. Our 450 plus employees are the foundation of our company, and only a healthy workforce will enable us to continue to deliver the highest standards of service to our customers. Looking to the future, OQGN is honored to continue playing a critical role in supporting Oman's ambitious Vision 2040 plan to sustainably overcome environmental challenges and generate opportunities that foster economic competitiveness and social development nationwide. OQGN is proud to be Oman's gas transport partner of choice, enabling economic growth and powering everyday life.
Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, we wanted to break up rhythm and show a video before we start. So thank you for being with us today. My pleasure also to present in front of you the gas network of OQ. Let's start with the disclaimer. I think the introduction has already been covered by Hawra. To roll over gas network actually started the journey in 2020. It has a monopolistic position in the country. So we have exclusive operatorship of the network in the country of delivering and transporting the gas. It has a very critical infrastructure asset of over 4,000 kilometers. So if you live in Oman, you must have crossed over or cross by the network of gas network. We're connecting with 6 gas network supplier with over 160 consumer over the Sultanate. We have also delivered about 39 billion standard cubic meter of gas in 2022. We have 50 years of concession agreement with the government to deliver the gas. As I said, we have the exclusive right to deliver the gas in the Sultanate, so that expands to 2070. And we have also been regulated by a well-known regulator of water and electricity, so they're also regulating the gas sector in the Sultanate. The map on the right depicts actually the network in the Sultanate, so we're all over the country with 3 compressor stations with over 24 gas stations or gas supply stations. Because of the robust and the well maintenance of the gas network, we're also very proud to have achieved 99.9% of reliability and availability of the gas to the customers. So basically, the model of the gas network is actually transporting the gas. We pick up the gas from the operator or the supplier of the government and deliver it to the customer of the government as well at the tariff, as a defined tariff. We are charging both our operator and the consumers connection fees to actually cover up for a connection of the pipeline that is extended to their premises. As I said, we have a very reliable network. We have over 99.9% of the gas availability over the last 10 years. And we have also a few ISO certificates that have been obtained by the government, by the company. Overall, our supplier of the gas is a well-known operator of the gas in the Sultanate. Primarily is BDO, Petroleum Development of Oman. BB being also a prime supplier of the gas in Khazan. A few also from Oxy and Oku Block 60. We are supplying the gas to all the sectors in the Sultanate. We're also supplying the gas primarily to Oman LNG, which actually liquidizing the gas for transportation. The demand, as the slide depicts as well, is set to be growing in the future, as what Mr. Tariq also has presented. The population of the Sultanate is also in the growing mode. So we're expecting also a growing demands in the Sultanate, both in industries and population usage. There are a few also concessions have been granted by the government to some international companies as initiative to attract IFT, international foreign divestment as well for the country. One of them has already executed the production, which is Block 10, and one is already in exploration phase, which is Block 11. In the financial terms, we basically currently have one shipper, which is the Ministry of Energy and Mineral. And our tariff is built up in 4 revenue blocks. We are infrastructure business. We get a tariff on how much we spend in our assets. So our tariff does not depend on the gas price. It does not depend on the amount of the gas that's being delivered, but it's how much we invest in the network. So the 2 major elements that contribute to the revenue of the company is first the RAB asset, or regulated asset base, which is at 2.5 billion currently as we speak, which is set also to grow around 2 to 3% year on year. And that is also at a retain that is set every 3 or potentially 4 years of a price control. So we're getting return of 7.3% or potentially to a higher rate on asset-based formula. We compensated, or to a certain level, we have been given allowable OPEX as well, where we can also keep the optimization of the OPEX to the company's profit. We're getting compensated for the depreciation of the asset, as well as a reimbursement of the tax. Finally, as ambitious vision of the country to the scheme of ESG, the company have realized the importance of ESG. We have also recently formed a committee led by a CEO of the company, is tasked and forced to look at the ESG agenda and ensuring to have these agendas followed by the company. The slide depicts 4 of the key pillars that the government has an ambitious for example, achieve a net zero by 2050, be a key player in producing and exporting the hydrogen by 2040, and also to be in the top 20 countries in the environmental performance. The company's contribution to the environment, for example, is we have a well-positioned and existing network that can be tailored to have a clean energy transition. And in the social aspect, we are valuing the importance of HSE, so that's why in 2022, for example, it's been a dedicated hours for employees HSE of 2,443 hours during 2022. We have a total spend of almost 74% in the local entities with almost 31% ICV. And in the governmental or governance aspect, we're also striving to be in a position applying the highest standards that follows highest standard follows internationally, and follow the recent code of conduct that's recently been also launched by OIA. We have a representation of female, for example, in our board of 40%, with subcommittees that's already been also following their duties as we speak. That's the end of our presentation. I thank you all for being with us, and we'll be ready to also have any further questions in the booth next door. Thank you very much.
I'm sure many of you do have questions for Mr. Khalid Al-Qasbi, and you will be free to ask them once we begin our networking event, which will take place right after the coffee break. But before we begin the coffee break, please let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Haytham Al-Salmi, CEO of Muscat Stock Exchange.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that all the presentations and the information you received was as per your expectations. It's good to mention back that starting from the first presentation on Istidama and the OIA presentation along with our regulator CMA, we can see the energy that we want to create a shift in our country. And this shift is not just an individual contribution by organizations. It's it's a commitment that has been traced back to the main vision of Oman 2040. And in terms of the structure, market, regulations that has been handled by government is within the pipeline to be reviewed and make sure that Oman is a great place to attract investments. We have seen as well from the presentations of the performance of the market and the sectors that fundamentally and technically Oman has a lot of opportunities. So that wave that's happening now, it looks like it's going upward, and it's very important that we perceive the opportunity that will come. We welcome you to Oman. We welcome you to meet our key players, market players here in Riyadh. And we welcome you to contact us anytime to answer your inquiries, be there for you and support your market access. I want to take the opportunity here just to give a great thank first to you to participate and be with us. Secondly, to the participating companies that has been here with us. I will start with the main sponsors and main participants who really supported the project, Bank Muscat, Invest, and OQ Gas. OQ Gas is one of the largest potentials for IPOs, and today we closed the first oil field IPO that has been covered in multiples, and that's proof that there is huge appetite locally and internationally for new products in Oman. I would like as well to thank the participating companies, starting from MBO, Ahli Bank, Bank Suhar, Renaissance, Ooredoo, Omantel, United Securities, Oman Cement as well, Oman Flour Mills, U Capital, and finally our subsidiary that will support you opening an account in Oman, Muscat Clearing and Depository. Thank you everyone, and have a great evening.
And thank you to you, Mr. Haytham, and Muscat Stock Exchange for organizing such an amazing event that gathers all of us under one roof. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to grab some snacks and coffee right outside the hall. Afterwards, you may proceed to the other side of this wall, where there are some beautifully set up booths from different companies, Omani companies that you may view, and others that you may network with. Thank you, everyone.